for posterity's sake. Okay. All right. So just give me 2 seconds to run through your profile. Coming right up. So Vivien, you've been made a co-host, so you can as well share you can share so that people can come in from your side also.
Yeah, okay. Share as in talk?
No, okay. So you're a co-host. It means that you can, share your screen.
Oh
Yes.
yes, I have shared the screen just now.
She's been sharing the screen.
Okay.
She's
All
already
right.
sharing.
Okay, then should in case you recognize anybody that's trying to join in from your own end, you can accept and admit them.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah.
Okay. So a brief introduction of yourself.
Oh, right.
Okay, so do you mind? I have a few inserts here. Then
Yeah,
you continue from there.
Yeah, please.
Okay.
You go ahead.
All right. All right. Okay. Okay. So on Meet the Trainer, we have Vivien Ndebele. I hope I pronounced your name perfectly.
Perfectly.
Okay. Vivien Ndebele is a Cameroonian, I suppose, but lives in the UK.
No, originally Zimbabwean, now living in the UK.
Oh, okay. No problem. We are one Africa. Okay. So Vivien Ndebele is a coach, a mentor, mental wellness advocate at Elite Mentorship Training Academy. She talks about peer group, personal growth, positive change, emotional well-being, and emotional resilience. Wow. Feel free.
Oh yeah. Right. Okay. Welcome everybody, and thank you so much for joining me on this first ever live We Africa, which is Women in Agile Africa conference. So thank you very much for joining me today. So without further ado, I shall begin my presentation, but please do feel free to ask questions after the presentation. I'll be more than happy to answer them. Okay, so here we go. My name is Vivien. I am so honored to be here on this We Africa stage conference. Absolutely amazing. It is such empowering to be able to share my gift. Thank you for allowing me that. It's a great privilege and honor. Thank you. And I hope what little I have to give will go a long way in hopefully benefiting somebody in some way. Thank you. So my topic today is really about mastering our emotions to live life on our terms. I learned that the hard way, because at school you never get pulled aside or taught in the curriculum that, okay, people or students, in order for you to really enjoy life and live a life of abundance, of happiness and wealth and so on, you need to know the secret of mastering your emotions. Nobody tells you. You just bumble along and somehow you make it or you don't make it. Adapt or die. That's the word on the street. But wouldn't that be great if you could say to somebody, when someone asks you this question, what do you do? And you turn around and you say, I'm living life on my terms. Won't that be something? Well, I'm here to say to you that it can be. Here's the thing. we often never really understand this concept of what is mental health. This is because once someone mentions the word mental health, your mind switches off and you say to yourself, oh, I don't have that. It's nothing to do with me. Well, I've got news for you. We are affected by mental health in one form or another. This can be in the form of eating disorders, disturbed sleeping patterns, overweight, stress, anxiety, and much more serious conditions, which most people associate mental health with. Depression, schizophrenia, manic depression, and so on. Well, what really is mental health then? Well, mental health refers to our psychological or emotional health and well-being. It is about how we think, how we feel, how we behave, how life affects us, and how we cope with it, how we engage with others, and the choices we make. This is from the Cardiomyopathy organization, where they discuss about emotional and health and emotional well-being. So that is what is meant by what is mental health. It's not always about a serious condition that you get medicated on and hospitalized for. So now that I have explained and hopefully got you attuned to what I'm trying to say. So if mental health, as this quotation says, that it's about how we engage with others and the choices that we make, that brings us nicely to this topic of mastering our emotions, because our emotions are part of our mental health, because our lives are ruled by our emotions, believe it or not. Then life is really like living in a roller coaster. Because if our lives are ruled by our emotions, then life is really like living in a roller coaster. Because each day you experience whatever drama your emotions manifest in your day. Believe me, I know all about that. I even wrote a book about it, well, 3 books about it. I'm not kidding, I did. My life was like that because my life was like living in a roller coaster. I am one of 7 children, and my life began in tragedy when my mother died of cancer when I was 1 year old. And from there on, to cut a long and painful story short, which you are, by the way, welcome to read all about it in my book, Nature Heals. My life was a roller coaster of tragic events, the deaths of my siblings, and physical and emotional abuse. As a result of this tragic upbringing, I sustained PTSD, which is a type of mental condition. And as you see, my life was just a roller coaster of emotional tragedies. So you see, until I learned how to master my emotions, my life was immersed in such deep and so seriously painful emotional state. So serious that my emotional pain actually manifested physically onto my skin, believe it or not. Here's the pictures. And if it wasn't for Peter Sage, I probably would be 6 feet under with the rest of my siblings. I kid you not, because I came very close to jumping over the bridge, because that was how it was. So I am here to tell you that each of us have a gift, just like Peter Sage told me once. Of course, at that time, when he was talking to me, I was still not the master of my emotions. And I thought, oh, what's this crazy white guy saying to me? What gift have I got? What this crazy white man, what's he talking about? What does he know? Of course, he did know. But anyway, what I have to say is that we all have a gift. And we all were born to bring this gift to the world, because we were here We are born to come here to contribute in life. We're not born just to live in misery. Seriously, we're not. We're born to be contributing to others. Those who are doctors contribute in their way in healing the sick. Those who are bankers or inventors, scientists, etc., they contribute too. So it's all about contribution, and we gain from these individuals. So we were all made to do that, to contribute. And of course, most of us don't get to know or realize our gift. Or maybe we realize our gift, but then we just lack the enthusiasm or the finances or the opportunities to get to that point. And so what do? We self-sabotage and get ourselves drunk or be high on drugs all the time, just so we drown that pain, that sorrow of knowing that, oh, we could be so much more. But because we just don't know where, how to find that, we then just get ruled by our emotions because we haven't taken the time to learn how to master them, or we haven't had the opportunity or somebody to teach us. So this is an important key. It may not factor that much in your life right now, which is okay. But the fact is, our physical and mental well-being is important because at one time or another, it will affect 1 in 10 of us today. Believe it or not. You may have a physical illness, such as diabetes or heart failure, and so on. So we are all affected. So if we don't take care of our physical or mental health, we will suffer in the long run. And our emotional pain can manifest in these conditions, physical conditions, not just in the mind. So you may think, oh, well, I'm just perfect. I don't have no emotional pain, no emotional mental illness, etc., which is great. But it's not about mental illness. It's about the health of your mind, the health of your mental well-being. That is the key. So if you don't take anything away today, take this. That your physical and mental well-being is very important. And it is time we look into it because one affects the other. If your mental health is imbalanced, it will in turn affect your physical health, right? So you end up having these people saying they've got irritable bowel syndrome. That is about your mental health because your gut, what they call the gut axis, is interrelated with your emotions, your mental health. So what goes on in your head affects what goes on in your stomach, your gut. That's why they call it the gut axis, the gut-brain axis, sorry. That's what they call the gut-brain axis. So whatever happens in your mind affects your physical well-being. So by taking care of both, then you can be assured that you will live a healthy, balanced, happy life. And of course, a life of abundance. Because if you want a life of abundance, of wealth, then you have to take care of that first. Your mind, which is your mental and your physical well-being. Once you've taken care of that, then yes, you can then move on to the rest. And everything else, it will just resonate into your life. Because once you're not vibrating pain, misery, anger, sorrow, but vibrating love, peace, joy, then love, peace, joy will just resonate and vibrate right back to you. You don't need to go and fetch it. It will just vibrate back to you. Believe it or not. I digress. Emotions are the way that we interact with the world around us. So if your world is topsy-turvy, like the roller coaster ride, But I'm here to let you to tell you that it doesn't have to be that way. We are the master of our emotions, and most of all, the master of what happens in our lives. We get to choose what happens. You may think that, oh, things just happen to me. I don't choose it. I just wake up and then there it is. But that's not the case. As I learned from my mentor, Peter Sage, believe you me, I was also in denial. I was like, well, no, I wake up and then I've got this drama or this nightmare or that nightmare. I didn't bring it, it just happened. But because I'm resonating and vibrating this negativity, this pain and misery, because I'm not in charge of what happens with my emotions, therefore my world is hell. And because my world is hell internally, it then has to manifest in the outside as well, believe it or not. We do manifest our own hell in this life. But we can also manifest our own abundance of joy, peace, happiness, and all that life has to bring. As Janet Jackson says, the best things in life are free if we only let go and start to enjoy it, just like you did when you were 1 year old. You never worried about anything then, you just lived, you just enjoyed life. And that is the secret to abundance. Okay, so without further ado, I am digressing, I apologize. So in order to live a life of abundance and happiness, wealth and good health, find a quiet space. So I would like you, I digress. I would like you to do this little exercise below to find out if you are ready to take the next step in mastering your emotions, because that is key to our happiness. I'm sorry, but I will keep saying this because it's absolutely key, the secret, right? So of mastering your abundance of health, well-being, wealth, anything you want in life. So I would like you to do this exercise. Obviously, you may do it now. You can just take down the questions and go into it in your own time. But it is an important question. Exercise rather, in order to live a life of abundance, of happiness, wealth, and good health. So once you obviously go away and go home and you find yourself a quiet space, whether today or the next day, then take a note of these questions. Try to be honest with yourself as much as possible. Remember, this is for you, not anybody else, because in everything, you are the center of what happens in your life. You may say things happen to you, but you make the choice. You make the choice to allow whatever happens in your life, because nothing just knocks at your door without you opening it and letting it come in. If you keep your door shut, then it will stay outside. But it's not always the case. Anyway, I digress. Okay, so the question number 1 for your exercise is, what am I doing with my life? Okay, that's 1. And question 2, who am I without this diagnosis? You may not have a diagnosis, which is great, so you can skip over this one. But if you have a diagnosis, whether it's a physical diagnosis of diabetes or mental health, depression, stress, anxiety, or whatever condition you have, who am I without this diagnosis? Because that's just a diagnosis of a condition that your body is currently suffering, but that's not you as a person. So when I say, who am I without this diagnosis, is who are you? Because when you were born, you didn't have this diagnosis. I mean, some of you perhaps were born diabetic. That's obviously nothing you can do about it. It is what it is. But most people were born without any ill condition. They were born without any ill condition, and therefore that is then your identity. So therefore you look at, who am I without this disease, whatever the disease may be. So you write it down, who am I? So it's really something to think, because once you can separate your disease from you, the person, then you can start to live your life not being ruled by whatever that diagnosis is. Cancer, diabetes, mental health, whatever. You can then live your life to be you, Vivien, Jessica, Jane, whatever you are, because that's you. So that's what you need to focus on. And question number 3, am I happy with my life? If you are, that's perfect. Then write why you are happy with it, which is perfect, right? And question 4, what's working in my life? So going back to question 3, if you are happy with your life, then look at question 4 then asks, what's working in my life? Then you write that down and be as honest, because it's only you who's going to look at these answers, nobody else. Well, you can show your peers or your friends if you wish. Question 5, what's not working in my life and why? Right? So question 3, am I happy? If so, then question 4, what's working in my life? Then you write it down. And then question 5, what's not working in my life? Then you write it down too. What's not working? What can I do to make it right? Remember, don't worry about, oh, I need to change the life circumstances or the context of my life, because you can't change that. You are already you. You are Jessica, you are Jane, you are Vivien, or whatever. You are already you. What you need to focus on is now. What steps do I do moving on from now? What can I contribute to the world? What value can I bring? That is the question. What happened in the past is in the past, because you can't go back and change it and rub it off and start again. I mean, if we can do that, then we'll all live a happy life. Nobody will ever be miserable. So you can't do that. So it's just accept and move on. All right, so that was question 5. What's not working in my life and why? And then you answer that as honest as possible. Question 6, what do I need to do in order to live the life I was born to live? We were all born to contribute, to come into this world and bring a gift. So what is that gift? You may not realize it now, but just meditate on it. Pray about it. Go to church. If you're not a church person, meditate. If you don't meditate, then it's probably time you want to look into it. Because if you want to look after your mental well-being, it's about looking at mindfulness. Mindfulness is key. All right. Question 7, am I ready? Do I have what it takes to transform my life? Do I have what it takes to master my emotions? Do I need to know how to do this? Because it's all well and good saying, yeah, I know how to master my emotions, but do you really? So these questions are key to you finding out who you are, where you want to be from now on. Not what happened in the past, but what's happening now. How do you move on from here? That is key. All right? So following on from the above exercise, you will now be ready to take that next crucial step to changing your life. You need to reclaim your power that you gave away when you acquired the victim mentality. And that's the mentality of, oh, I can't do it. You know, Jessica was born rich anyway. Her father owns the bank or whatever. And so she can do that, or she has all that, so she's able to do it, or he, and so on. So that's the victim mentality, that's self-sabotage, because we all can do it if we put our mind to it. So it's mindset, mindfulness, and looking at, I can do it, I want to do it, and then you do it. And then look, once you put your mind to it and say you want to do something, life happens. Circumstances start to fall in your path to show you the way, give you opportunities to be able to do it. But if you're not open to those opportunities and circumstances that come your way, and you're still in this victim mode or victim mentality of why me, why this, why, then of course you will stay in that mud and not be able to see the stars. All right? So if you do decide to take control of your emotions, then there are simple steps that you need to do first in order to start that positive transformation that would ultimately lead to you regaining your self-worth, your self-esteem, and confidence to fully participate and contribute to society. The first step to this giant transformation is to evaluate your current socio-economic circumstances, and this would start with evaluating and reflecting what your socio-economic circumstances are. Who is in your peer group? It is also important to ask yourself this important question: would the people in your peer group have a positive influence to this new transformation that you want to make? If the peer group that you are hanging out with is not the peer group that will lift you out of the mud and help you to see the stars, then it is time to upgrade your peer group. When I say peer group, I mean the people you hang out with, your social networks, your friends, and so on. As Tony Robbins says, the quality of a person's life is most often a direct reflection of the expectations of their peer group, which is so true. Because if your peer group have no expectations of you except the fact that you should turn up every Friday and you don't leave the bar or pub or whatever, or disco, until you all drunk 12 or 20 beers or glasses of wine or whatever, then that's their expectations of you. They don't expect you to one day turn around and say, oh, you know what? I'm thinking of doing this course on mastering my emotions. They'll laugh at you and say, what are you talking about? Right? So are those peers that you're hanging around with those types of people that will laugh at your chances or your decisions to try and come out of the mud to see the stars? That's the question. Oprah Winfrey goes on to say, only surround yourself with people that lift you higher. That is such an important key. Only surround yourself with people that lift you higher, because that is the key. Because once you have people that lift you higher, then the world is your oyster, really. This is also important to note in your journey of mastery, of mastering your emotions, as well as looking at your peer setup. You need to also look at the environment you live in. Is it rundown? Is it high in crime? Your diet, your sleep patterns, your exercise regime, do you have one? If not, maybe start one. Your mindfulness regime, do you have one? If not, important to start on it. Be it a spiritual mindfulness activity or be it not. It all doesn't matter. It's just what you may need to look into. Because all these factor in your journey of emotional mastery. And this quotation here says, physical responses to toxic environments or relationships are no different. According to The Guardian, bodily responses to relationship conflict can cause long-term damage. That's not your relationships. That's right. Your relationships could literally be making you sick. Your overall health, sex life, and risk of drug and alcohol abuse are all on the line when you prolong your exposure to a toxic environment, detriment of your health. Okay, so the emotional mastery is that great secret that is the key to our abundance of health, wealth, and happiness. Because if we continue to ignore it, then and say, oh, well, it's not me. They can do it. Jessica can do it. It's not us. Then that's okay. Because if you're happy with where you are at and you don't want to change, then that's okay. But I don't think any of you guys that are in this conference today are those type of people. So I hope this will go a long way in helping you to understand the importance of our physical and mental well-being, because each of either of those are like the yin and yang of your life. If one is in balance, then the other, it definitely will be imbalanced as well. So it's always to keep that balance. That's the key to happiness, of abundance, of health, peace, joy, and so on. Okay, so basically, if you don't do that, then your life will be an endless roller coaster of painful emotional events year after year, that at first you try to buy your way out of it, and sooner or later you resign yourself to it and live a life fueled with drugs or alcohol in order to drown out the emotional pain. Because believe it or not, emotional pain is more serious than physical pain. So wake up and start taking action to live the life you were born to live. Start living and contributing to society as God intended you to do. Without further ado, I would like you to listen to this little script from Peter Sage, my mentor, which just capsulizes everything here that I've been trying to say. Thank you for listening.
Wow. Thank you, Vivien.
Upgrade your peer group and the people you surround yourself with. That's probably one of the most common questions I get asked, and many reasons for that. I think also because one of the most popular podcasts that I've ever done was on London.
Hello?
Yes.
Am I still live?
Yes, you are.
Oh, okay. So shall I show the last video, because I said to that I wanted to have people listen to Peter, or
yes, how long is the video, Vivien?
It's only 12 minutes.
Okay.
So I was given up to 50 minutes, I was told, because I did say that it will run roughly about 45 minutes, give or take.
Yeah, Vivien, kindly proceed. Thank you.
Okay, here we go. I'll share the screen back up again.
Peer group and the people you surround yourself with. That's probably one of the most common questions I get asked, and many reasons for that. I think Also because one of the most popular podcasts that I've ever done was on London Real. And one of the first things I suggest on how to improve the quality of your life was to upgrade your peer group. So on this video, I want to give you some hints and tips, 3 specific things on how to really go about upgrading your peer group and what you should be looking for and some of the pitfalls to avoid when actually putting a new peer group or joining a peer group that's going to really improve your life. Now, a lot of this is modeled on something called the Elite Mentorship Forum, which is a peer group that I put together because I was pretty much shocked that there was very little around in the personal growth industry that really afforded people the opportunity to really have the kind of peer group that I wanted to create. If you've been part of the Elite Mentorship Forum, then please leave some comments here as to what you feel. But ultimately, what I want to share on this video are some hints and tips that you can take away right now and go and apply so that, whether you ever join the Elite Mentorship Forum or not, you've got something to really guide you along the way to really help with what I think is the most important part of personal growth, and that is choosing who you hang with. So why should we do that? That's got to be the first part of this video, right? Because so many people run off on a tangent. I want to upgrade my peer group. The first question is why? Why is it even important? Well, I'm going to share some insight. You see, we're all subject to a law that very few people are consciously aware of. And it's called the law of conformity. In other words, the 95% law that I call it. And that's because 95% of people are essentially producing behaviors that are in reaction to the environment they're in. Now, in the physical world, we understand that. If you take the body, for example, the body's a 24/7 adaptation machine. Its job is to adapt to its environment. If it's too hot, it will adapt and you will sweat. If it's too cold, it will shiver. If you put it in the gym, it will get stronger. If you put it in McDonald's it's going to react differently. So, it doesn't care what the nature of the input is. It doesn't get to choose that. It only gets to choose how to react to its environment and try to adapt as best it can to cope with whatever external stimuli is presented to it. Now, the inner world is very similar. The inner world is essentially a 24/7 adaptation machine based upon its environment. And that's where upgrading a peer group is so important and valuable because, a lot of our behaviors that we engage in are usually out of habit. We do not many things out of intelligence a lot of the time, unfortunately, or reason. We do a lot out of passion and emotion, but a vast majority of what a human being does in terms of behavior is done out of habit. Now, if you've ever stopped to think that a behavior, anytime you do a behavior or engage in a behavior, is because there is a thought preceding it that is driving or causing that behavior. And you can't do anything in terms of taking an action or a decision without previously having been triggered or directed by a thought. So the mistake that many people make is that they try to change behaviors without realizing that it's the thinking behind the behaviors that really is where the problem is. And that's because they are habitual. Now, having habitual thoughts is actually an evolutionary plus. It means that we don't have to learn to walk every day, or you don't have to take your driving test again and again, because once we've mastered something long enough, then it becomes almost unconscious. And unfortunately, most of our unconscious thoughts are, again, influenced by the environment that we're in. And to give you another analogy, the mind is very much like a compass needle. It can only point in one direction at a time. And its default gravitational magnetic north, to stick with that metaphor, is influenced by the environment that continually strokes that compass needle with another magnet to point it in a certain direction. So that when we're conscious 5 to 10% of the time, then we can take that compass needle and drag it into a direction that we choose. But when we're what I call sleeping awake, then what happens is that compass needle automatically goes back to where it's been most conditioned. And in our inner world, which creates all of our behaviors and thinking patterns that drive our external habits, that is very rarely looked at. And the biggest influence of our inner world is the input that we surround ourselves with. And the biggest version of that is our peer group. So why should we upgrade our peer group? Because you are going to essentially become who you hang with. And we see that whether it's kids that vote the same politically as their parents did, not because they have a deep understanding of the actual issues, but because that's what their parents did. or they like certain foods or music because that's what they grew up with. It's an environment that continually programs us. So the 95% law is a huge part of why we should take seriously upgrading our peer group. Now, it's almost like swimming in a river. If you're in a river, you have a current that is driving the general direction. Now, sure, you can start to swim against it. You can be hanging around with people that aren't inspiring, and you could try to stay focused and on point. But at some point, you're going to take a breath, and the current will usually win over time. Another way of saying that is if you hang out with 10 high-level entrepreneurs or people that are self-motivated, inspiring, kind-hearted, coming from a high level of frequency or consciousness that come from how can we make the world a better place? How can we improve ourselves? How can we continually grow and contribute? Then chances are you're going to become the 11th. If you hang around with 10 recreational drug users that are complaining about life, that are watching daytime TV and eating Domino's pizza for their healthiest meal of the day, then I've got news for you. As inspired as you can be temporarily in certain moments, the current will take you downstream at some point, and you'll likely become the 11th, or at least start to give tendencies towards the behavior of the people you surround yourself with. So the first tip I want to give you is know why you should upgrade your peer group. Don't take this lightly. It is by far the fastest way to be able to change the circumstances of your life, is to change who you hang with and start to adapt to or conform with. Case closed. The second tip I'm going to give you on this video when it comes to upgrading your peer group, very, very simple. Know what it is that you want out of a peer group. A lot of people go to a peer group or look for a new peer group with a criteria that's very similar to how they set goals. And it goes something like this. For purposes of this analogy, I want you to imagine that you're in a train station and you're looking to buy a ticket. And you want to go somewhere, and you have any option to choose from. And so here's how it goes for many people, including how they react to looking to go to a peer group. And you walk up and the person behind the counter says, oh, hello, good afternoon. And where would you like to go? And you're all excited. You've got this chance, this opportunity to be able to start moving your life in a different direction. And you walk up with a big smile and say, oh, great, thank you so much. Yeah, I'd like to be not here. And the person selling the ticket says, well, that's great, but where would you like to go? Oh, I just don't want to be here. Most people are trying to avoid the people they're with when they upgrade their peer group and give far more energy and attention to where they don't want to be currently, rather than really choose specifically the kind of people that you want to be moving into and why. Because different peer groups can have very different energies. They can have very different purposes. If you know in advance what energy that you want to be able to be part of, or what direction that you want to be able to be going in with a peer group to support that, then half the battle's already won. You don't just want to close your eyes and throw a dart in the board and say, oh, wow, at least it's not where I am now. That doesn't work. So know exactly what kind of peer group you want. Design it. Ask yourself better questions. If I could hang out with 10 people for the rest of my life as the only friends I would have, what kind of qualities would I want those people to have? Who would I want them to be for me? Who would I want to show up as for them? And start really identifying that, because once your brain's got a target, it knows what to look for. But if you're running around trying to search for not here, then anywhere else will do. And you don't want to invest all the time and energy in being able to recreate an environment of peers, only to find out too late that, well, really I'm in the same boat, just with a different coat of paint. Now, the third tip that I'm going to give you is to bring your A game. What do I mean by bringing your A game? I mean that you have to show up. The only way that you're going to be accepted into a higher level peer group is if you can come and bring something to the table. And I say to my students, especially in the EMF, you want to be looking to seek first to add before you take. Now, why is that important? I want a peer group because I want something for myself. That doesn't work. The whole aspect of nature works upon contribution first before you get something for it. And that's how money works. If you're chasing money right now, is it no wonder why you don't think you have enough? because most people are chasing the consequence rather than the actual cause. The cause of money is to be able to add something of value first, which will cause somebody to then use this medium of exchange called money to actually exchange that particular amount of value. Whereas a lot of people are sitting in front of the fire, freezing, saying, please give me some heat first, and then I'll go fetch you some wood. And of course, that doesn't work. If you go to a peer group saying, oh, great, now I've upgraded my peer group, what can I get? You're not going to last very long, even if you get through the door. So switch the frame of reference. What is it that I can contribute to this peer group? Who do I need to bring? And that isn't your B or C game, guys. That is your A game. Coming from that place. Now, one of the tips that I can meld into that is this. If you're going to join a peer group, one of the things I suggest is that you find a peer group that is committed to a journey of personal growth. Now, there's a lot of peer groups you can get away from, not here, which seem better by contrast, but are just sort of hanging out at what may be seen to be a higher level than where you were. And by contrast, you may feel that's great. But if you're not growing, you're standing still. And if you're standing still, you're actually going backwards because the world continues to move. So, look for a peer group that has a commitment to actually wanting to continuously improve themselves, to become better versions of themselves, to be able to contribute more. And that's where, as I say, you really need to start asking better questions. In fact, the reason that the Elite Mentorship Forum is so powerful is because we have a very structured program over 6 months where we work on how you bring your A game up to a level that you never thought possible. How do we work on you? Because if there's more of you to be able to contribute, it makes sense that more doors are going to be open to you to want to be able to be invited into a peer group that actually you can contribute to and get benefit from. So, I've covered a few things here in this video, and I don't want to go on too long because I'm going to.
Okay, thank you so much for that. So that is now the end of my presentation on mastering your emotions and also the value of choosing your peer group and why that is important in helping you to become the best of you. So unleashing the best version of yourself. So any questions, anybody? Hello? Can anyone hear me? Are we still live? Hello?
Hello, Vivien. Hello, Vivien. We can hear you. We can hear you.
Oh, okay, good. I was just asking, I've finished the presentation. I was just wondering if everybody was okay or had any questions. Other than that, that's all on my side. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Nadia. Hello, Nadia. Hello, Nadia. Are you still there? Okay. I think Nadia is indisposed at this point in time.
Okay.
I'd like to say thank you to the participants. Thank you for staying through. Body Olashege, thank you especially. You've been here right from the very beginning. We appreciate you. Adaora Ogbu Itoha Osenwige. Our next speaker, Olatunde Olafimihan, Olubumi Taiwo, Olukemi Bola, Sorele Janku, Vivien Ndebele's friend. Thank you all. We'll appreciate your time. So please feel free to connect with Vivien on LinkedIn and any other social media platform. And also the Women in Agile Network website is almost 100% complete. Kindly feel free to always come check, network, So as time progresses, we'll communicate other things. Thank you so much. We appreciate your time.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.